Hello, my friends. Welcome to day number 47 of 66 days of data with KNIME. And today will be a longer session as we will create the first part of our time plot component. And that is quite a bit of work. So I've pre-done that, but it will also take some time to go through these nodes. We will work with configurations. We will work a little bit with widgets nodes and make them dynamic and all kinds of stuff. So that will be quite interesting. But before we do that, let's just have a quick announcement. So I will be here at the KNIME Fall Summer 2022, which happens to be from 14th to 16th of November in Austin, Texas. I will stream live from that, so make sure you're tuning in. And if you are there, you please just step by and say hello, tap me on the shoulder, tell me that you have watched these videos. So why should you probably join that KNIME Fall Summit in person? Well, there are many reasons besides meeting interesting people and hearing interesting stuff about your favorite open source tool. But maybe the most important one is the training. So the training stuff is really, really good. It's like having data scientists at your fingertips, and they teach you. So you can immediately ask if you have any questions. You can speak with them, talk about certain ideas that you might have. So I will be there. I will take a lesson on Monday, definitely. So if you happen to be there, make sure you step by. And if you're not there, maybe you should consider going, because it's definitely worth your time. All right. With that one aside, let me just jump back here and turn on all my brand stuff like this. So let's quickly jump over to the computer and see what today's task is. So we are here. No, that's my studio. That's not what you want to see. So we are here at data explorations in 66 days of data with KNIME. And we are in section number 8. And today's task is as follows. Make the previous component, so the component we basically did in day 46, parametric by adding a configuration window where you can select the time window from year to year. You can further parameterize your configuration window by allowing the top K artists to be extracted. For example, artists with the largest number of tracks in the selected time window. So let me just show you what I have prepared for you. If you just look here, it's in this component that you see here on the screen. And let me make this a little bit bigger so I hope you still can see it. All right, so if I right click on this component and say configure, here's a configuration dialog, and I can select the dates. So let's start probably with this day here. That is my birthday, May 18th, 1974. And maybe we end with a pretty sad day, which is 5th of November, 1991. That was the day that Freddie Mercury, the lead singer of Queen, died. Very sad day. And we can also select what we want to see. So do we want to see top 10? Then we just do it like this. Or if we want to see top 100, we just do it like this. And if we now say, okay, we will see from that time frame for my incoming table, we will see a table with the top artists. So let me just say, okay, execute and open views. And what a surprise, Queen is the most active one in that time. So you basically see here the artist's name and the number of tracks, the sum number of tracks, top 100 artists by number of tracks in the time from 1974 until 1991. So let's just add this so you can see how dynamic this is. Let's just make this 2 years later, or 4 years later. And maybe this one a few years back. And also we just want like the top 50. Execute and open views. Top 50 artists. Oh, let me just see. I just have to wait a minute like this. Oh, but that one is still wrong. I don't know why. So let's just go into the component. So the very first thing that we are doing here, and let me just turn off these stupid banners here. The very first thing that we're doing is we are providing two configuration windows. We call it start date and end date. And these are basically the two things that you have seen here when you clicked configure. So let's just reset that maybe to 1969. Oh, that didn't. Now I know why it didn't work. 7th of May, 1969. 6th of November, 1987. And we put this one to 8. Apply, okay. Execute and open views. Top 8 artists from 1969 until 1987. So now you can see it. All right. So these two fields here, the date field here and the end date field here, are basically these two configuration nodes. You find them if you just look config, see them date and time configuration. That would be these nodes here. They create, which you can see from the red dot here, they create a flow variable. And that means basically a data container that holds these dates. As we cannot feed too many variables into one single node, we have to use this body here that's called merge variables. And it basically has no configuration at all. It just merges them all together. So if we look at the output, we have basically now the start date and the end date here. Next, we are going to turn this into a table because the problem is these nodes here, string to date and time, extract date and time fields, column rename, and so on, these are not available for flow variables. So we have to convert it into a normal KNIME data table. And then at the end, we convert it back into a variable, which we then will fill into our rule-based row filter. So let me just quickly show you what I'm doing here. String to date and time. As these variables are created as strings, we need to convert them to a date because we want to use these extract date and time fields later on or further down the stream. So these two dates, which are now strings, should be dates, should be date and time fields. So if we look at the output table, you will see now they are date and time fields. Next is we get the year from the start date. We can only process one column per node, so that's why we chain two together. First, we process the start date, and we select that we only want to extract the year from this date. We don't need anything else. And then we just extract the end date, also only the year, which then gives us basically this little output table. So we have the date fields, and then we have the year and year one. Next, we want to rename these columns because we want to make them flow variables again, and therefore they should have speaking names. So that's what we do next. In column rename, we call the first one var start year, and the second one var end year, right? So now we have var start year, var end year, and now we take the table row to variable node again and say we do not care about these two date columns anymore, but what we do care for are these two integer columns that we're using here. They hold the year number, all right? And these two variables that we have basically here, var start year and var end year, we still have the complete dates here in the variables, but these two are the ones we're looking for because we fill them or feed them into our rule-based row filter. And what we basically say, if the year in the table is greater than or equal to the start year, and it is smaller than or equal to the end year, then return true. And all true matches are kept through this row filter. Everything that is not true will be thrown away. So this part of the formula here basically says if within that range then set the value to true. And here the second step is true will be included, not excluded. All right. So now we have our filtered table with 12,000 items, and you see 69 till 1987 from the years. So what do we do next? We group by artists and count of years active. So let me just show you this one. We group by the artist name, and then we count the number of tracks. So it's not year active, that's from the old version, from the day 46 version, but rather it's the number of tracks that we sum up. Because what we want to do here is we want to see who was most active during that selected time period. So let me just quickly correct this. So, and sum of number of tracks. So now it is correct. Now with that, we do quite a few things. First of all, the upper part. So we extract basically from this output port, we get the number of unique rows. So let me just show you here with another group by node. We do not have any groups. Instead, we just do a manual aggregation, and that is basically the count of the artist name. Could also count be of some number of tracks. But what that basically returns is the number of available tracks in our configuration window. Then we feed this one here into the slider. If you remember, the slider is basically the one that shows us the top number that we could select, like top 10, top 20, top 30, top 50, and so on. So the slider then is also labeled, please select the top K number, e.g. top 10, e.g. 10 for top 10 artists, 50 for top 50, and so on. And that basically is overwritten. Let me just look by. We want to also set the default values. All right. So that is basically overwritten by what the user used, and then we use that create a variable that says, okay, the top X number of artists, so like top 10 artists by number of tracks, top 40, top 80, whatever you chose, and feed this into a new variable, into a text variable that's called var table title. And just keep that in mind, because we now are going to look at the bottom part where we create the subtitle. We want to have the years, the var start here and the var end here in subtitle. But these are numbers, so we have to turn them into a string. So what we basically do is we chain the words in the time from, then the string version of the start year, then the word until, then the string word of the end year. And this result of this join will be stored in a variable that's called var table subtitle. So here we have a new node you have not seen before. It's a top K selector, and top K stands for top 10, top whatever. You just determine what number of rows you want to show. So in the advanced settings, we sort the output. In the flow variables, we set the K to basically the selected number from the slider. So if someone chose 40 in the slider, this will be 40. And we select by the number of tracks descending. So that is that. And then we feed through this node and down through the stream here into the table view our two flow variables. So the flow variables are set for the title. Here we have the flow variable var table title, and here we have the subtitle var table subtitle. In regards to what we have in the column or in the table, we have the artist name and the sum number of tracks. We do not show row keys, we do not show row colors, as they are all the same. So that's basically it. And that, my friends, basically creates this interactive table where we say we have selected arcs 8, so it says top 8 artists by number of tracks, and we've selected the years 1969 and 1987, so it says 1969 until 1987. Dynamically created text within KNIME. That is the very first step towards your very own data app, and you can do crazy stuff with this. You can parameterize all kinds of things. You can let people upload files. You can let people enter data and all these kind of things. So that closes today's session. So we will probably, or I will upload this this workflow over to the KNIME Hub. If you want to download it, if you want to play with it, make sure you go to hub.knime.com/Covisoft. There you have a folder that's called public space, and in that public space there is a folder that is called 66 days of data, and there you can find this workflow for free to download for you. All right, with that said, I'm going to end today's session. See you tomorrow, and always happy KNIMing, and see you in day number 48 of 66 days of data with KNIME. Take care and bye-bye.